There is an Italian mystic who died in 1979, and his name is Father Octavio Michelini. And I just thought I'd read through some of his life and what he said, because, I do think in different moments in crisis in the church that God does send his prophets to warn us, to guide us, to lead us. And this may be somebody that we should take more seriously. And as you'll see, he got the approval of his spiritual director and his bishop to publish these messages. So I suppose we should be listening to what he had to say, especially when they were written during such a turbulent time in the church. Biographical note: Don Octavio Michelini, born 14th of August 1906, died 15th of October 1979 of Mirandola, Italy, was an Italian Roman Catholic priest. He was the ninth of 10 children. He was ordained a priest on 12th of March 1932 in Carpi by Bishop Giovanni Pranzini of the Diocese of Carpi in the Modena province. His first appointment as a priest was as assistant vicar in Rollo in 1934. He was parish priest in the parish of St. Martino, Carano, from 1934 to 1938. Here, from 13th to 20th of September 1936, he organised the first parish Eucharistic Congress in preparation for the General Eucharistic Congress. His efforts were recounted in the edition of the Observatore Romano on September 27th and October 4th, 1936. He was also parish priest in Rovereto, 1938 to 1952, and in Concordia sul Secchia from 1952 to 1970. Several bishops who appreciated his commitment in organisation and preparation nominated him for Monsignor. In May 1967, he was awarded the honour of Paper Chamberlain to Pope Paul VI. In 1970, he was appointed as Canon of the Cathedral and held the office of Archdeacon in the Diocese of Carpi. After his retirement, he spent the last years of his ministry as chaplain in an association ministering to disabled people. He did his utmost in charitable and spiritual works. In his years of priestly ministry, according to his superiors, he always distinguished himself for piety, pastoral initiative, and full adherence to ecclesial magisterium. He was a vital part of the new Marian movement of priests founded by Father Stefano Gobi in 1973. At the age of 69, in 1975, for the last 4 years of his life, he received messages in the form of interior locutions. The confidences of Jesus denounce the seriousness of the spiritual and moral issues facing the world and the church, alluding to grave scandals and lifting the veil on some of the clerical shortcomings at a time when these were unknown to the majority of Catholics and the general public. He himself found the locutions overwhelming, and their assertions of the presence of corruption hard to accept. On top of this, he was obliged by Jesus to have them published an order which met with the full support of his spiritual director, Father Lorenzo Ciroli, and his bishop. It can be surmised with a great burden it was for poor Monsignor Octavio, who had to disclose predictions of an ever-increasing confusion and rebellion within his beloved church. These predictions signalled an intense crisis of faith and apparent abuses exploiting the Second Vatican Council in ways that deviate and circumvent its prerogatives. At the same time as most churchmen proclaimed that the church was going through a springtime, even Jesus at various times forewarned him to expect incomprehension and persecutions, a prediction which also met its fulfillment through the disbelief and reticence expressed by many of his fellow priests. Reading the messages of Don Michelini, One is struck by the accuracy of his prophecies. Nearly 50 years on, all today are eyewitnesses to the truth of his predictions. The church, and consequently the world, is experiencing tumultuous rapture, scandals, and steady decline in faith and practice. It is not difficult to appreciate the enormous weight that must have accompanied Don Octavio's heavy heart as he listened to Jesus describe problems that directly affect us today, but which for him had to be taken on pure faith without the proofs that we enjoy in hindsight. Nevertheless, these predictions of an onset of hard to believe levels of confusion in the mystical body and humanity in general may find some echo in the daily demonstrations of disparaging reticence by the majority of Christians, even towards prophets whose prophecies have come true. It is most telling when even the greater part of Christian scholarship, instead of communicating a metanoia and insisting towards a life of holiness, incites instead towards an endless quibble with the circumscribed rationalizations of various individuals. Don Octavio died on October 15th, 1979, in Castello di Mantua in an order of holiness, as remains attested in the report and testimony of the virtuous life of Monsignor Octavio Michelini, written by his spiritual director, Father Lorenzo Ciroli. Furthermore, the confidences of Jesus to Don Octavio point to a future cleansing that will be followed by a new springtime of peace and justice for humanity and for the Church. These claims still await their ultimate test in the future, placing us also, like Don Octavio, in the valley of decision. I have collected some of the messages that were interested me, and I do encourage people to read them all, but these are some messages that I found interesting. From Volume 1, Message 18, the 19th of September 1975. I love souls. Do you realize the tragic situation of many of my priests who are walking with great strides towards the eternal condemnation of their souls? Can there be a greater and more horrible tragedy on earth than this? Can there be a more diabolical deceit than the one that has been spread in these times by false teachers, who affirm that hell does not exist and that divine mercy could never permit the eternal condemnation of a soul? These propagandists of heresies and errors would like to see divine justice annulled. But let them know that in me justice and mercy are indivisible. For in me they are one and the same thing. My son, I am the light that has come into the world. The light shines in the darkness, but the darkness does not comprehend it. I love souls. I desire the salvation of souls. For this I have come, for I have need of all of you, all of your collaboration. You are my members, and all the members tend to the same and only purpose. I have need of you, so that the mystery of salvation may be fulfilled in its plenitude, according to my example, according to the example of my most holy mother, of the martyrs of the saints, who should generously embrace your cross and follow me. If the cross seems heavy, you know that I am in all of you to lighten the weight. Son, I have told you, and I repeat it, that it is duty of justice and charity. No one can withdraw from me, much less my priests. Fear not, it is I who lead you. Walk forward, do not go back, do not worry. They have rejected my gospel. They have distorted my truth. They have not believed the victim souls to whom I have spoken. In their words I have placed my seal of my grace, but they resisted it. I dictated to Maria Valtorta, a victim soul, a marvelous work. Of this work I am the author. You yourself have realized the furious reaction of Satan towards it. You have verified the resistance of that many priests place to this work. And if it were not but if it were not only read, but also studied and meditated, it would be an immense blessing to so many souls. This work is a source of serious and solid culture. But instead of this work, for which there is a great success in the regenerated church, they prefer the filth of so many magazines and books of presumptuous and proud theologians. I bless you, as always, love me. Volume 2, Message 34, the 20th of January 1976. I am a living person. Son, tell everyone, do not worry at all about their reactions, whatever they may be. It is I, Jesus, who want this, and I expect of souls consecrated to me. Say strongly that there has been enough of this fake prudence, with which they have become afraid of making everyone know that I, Jesus, true God and true man, am a living and real person like all of you. Even more above you, with all the rights and duties of making my voice heard to whom, how, and when I desire, and in the way that I desire. Speak, Son, that I have the right and the power of calling whom I desire, when and how I desire, to undertake any mission whatsoever in my church. Let them be persuaded that I have chosen them to be priests and some of them to be bishops, and just as I have called them, I am able now, and I have the power to choose among my priests to entrust special missions to them to be fulfilled in the way and at the time established by me. Do not tire of praying and offering yourself. Behold, the rest do not tire of offending me. Your sufferings have increased, but you know that you are the measure of your love for me. I bless you, Son, and with you I bless all those who, with the spirit of true humility, may know how to accept the urgent invitation of the man God who deserves all to be saved. Volume 2, Message 37, the 20th of January 1976. The New Spring. Among these there is a priest. He is dear to me because of his desire for perfection, also for his love for the marvelous work that the world ignores and that the proud reject, which is the humble love. But which the humble love, the poem of the man God, is a work desired by my divine wisdom and providence for the new times. It is a source of living and pure water. It is I, the living and eternal Word, who am giving myself as food to the souls that I love. I am light, and light is not confused, nor fused with darkness. Where I enter, darkness dissipates to give place to the light. Where there is no life, there is death, and death is putrefaction. There is a spiritual putrefaction that is no less nauseating than organic putrefaction of bodies that rot. I am truth and life, living water and the light of the world. How could I make my dwelling in souls infected with the concupiscence of the flesh and of the spirit? Son, this also proves that he who has not felt in the poem the Saviour of the divine, the perfume of the supernatural, has his soul darkened and filled with obstacles. There are bishops, priests, and men and women religious who hide themselves in hypocritical prudence, for them the cause of so many prudences which damage to themselves and to souls. They withdraw inside themselves and know not that they are in the refuge of the demon. Prudence is virtue, and virtue is not nauseated at the presence of the divine. My son, to the depths we have arrived. Let that priest know, and every time he rereads the poem of the man God, he is giving me joy for all those who have denied it to me. Let him fear nothing, even if there are those who reject it and do not understand it. Beware of this. Our goods are very different to the goods of the world. The love that we bring to souls is always united to suffering. This is a law. Suffering is a means not only useful but even necessary for the transformation, for the purification and divinization of the soul. Son, how much it is necessary to pray, to practice mortification, to make reparation for oneself and others. If the hour of purification was sounded, also the vigorous buds that announced the springtime would already sprung forth. Courage, I and my mother are with you. Volume 4, Message 24, 9th of December 1976. When the sentinels do not keep watch. My son, write, the bishops with the Pope are the guardians of the inestimable values of truth, that is to say, of the patrimony formed by my doctrine and my word. The bishops with the Pope are the natural guardians of the moral and spiritual values freely given to my church. The bishops with the Pope are the guardians of the inestimable values of faith, of my doctrine, of the living word, for it is the divine and eternal, and it does not change nor alter with the change and alteration of the times. As not a few think in my church, including many heretics, regarded as theologians, yes, heretical, for they are proud and presumptuous. The bishops with the Pope are the natural guardians of the spiritual values of the redemption of my law. That does not change, nor can ever change, for it is eternal and divine, and therefore no one upon earth, not even my vicar, has the power of manipulating it or putting it at the service of human pride and egotism. The bishops with the Pope have, and will have the sacred duty of a careful, circumspect, and persevering vigilance, for these spiritual treasures are freely given by God to humanity, so that the latter may be emancipated from the tyranny of the prince of darkness, and thus deliver itself from evil, and raise itself to unite itself again to God, 1 and 3, the Alpha and the Omega, the Creator and Lord of everything and of everyone. It was and is the task of bishops to protect the faith from the attacks of the darksome forces of evil, those which, mimicking God in their destructive action, may use the very ones who, chosen by me, should be devout, faithful, and living sons, zealous for my glory and for the good of souls. Unfortunately, many consecrated souls, darkened by pride, the terrible and intense plague of my mystical body, have not been aware of the satanic work of destruction and ruin, compliments of my enemies, who are your enemies and those of my church. And when they noticed the danger, they did not react with due energy and strength, for they were afraid of losing their prestige. They were and are afraid of losing their dignity. Anyway, those are the messages, some of the messages that I picked out from the messages of Octavio Michelini, and you can find them all online. If anybody needs them, they can let me know. And the last message there that I picked from the 9th of December 1976, really speaks into this new synodal church that we've constructed. How many times does Christ say, the bishops with the Pope, the bishops with the Pope, the bishops with the Pope? It is our Lord left apostles. He didn't leave a synodal church. You know, we all have our roles to play in the church. And it is the responsibility of the bishops with the Pope to preserve the apostolic faith of the church and not to sow confusion, division, or dilute the message that Christ has given to the church. But anyway, I suppose it will take a while for in hindsight, for these messages to be proven true, and who knows. But I just thought they were interesting, especially the connection to Maria Valtorta and the poem of the man God as it was published then, or the gospel as revealed to me, which is the current title. Anyway, God bless you. Take care. Bye bye.